Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's my great pleasure to welcome all you are here at the Swiss Re Institute and Center for Global Dialogue. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to the distinguished panelists and speakers that are sharing their views on Asia today. Swiss Re has a very long links with the Asia Society Switzerland and the valuable work you do in enhancing cooperation and dialogue between our regions. We are here to discuss the state of Asia, this immense landmass, almost over half of the world's population, defies easy categorization. It's a multi-phase, multicultural entity of contrasts and surprises. It is also a region in the throes of rapid change, the legacy of history from colonialism to communist dictatorship hangs over it. Only a few years ago, it contained some of the poorest states on the planet, and now has several of the richest, with Asian giants being pivotal in drivers of global economic growth. Swiss Re has a long relationship with Asia. It represents an important business for us, as you know, Switzerland has a very small domestic market, so from the very early days of Swiss Re history, we had to start to develop globally 159 years ago. And we started a few years later in Asia, namely with a Japanese company, Kobe Marine, in 1913. We brought our first business in Asia. And later on in the 1920s, we followed gradually with Chinese business. We established a permanent presence in Asia, in Hong Kong, in 1956 with an advisory office. And this was very important for us as a hub to offer technical advice and consulting to the Asian insurance industry that was, starting to boom. So in that sense, we have had also an opportunity in the early stages of the opening of the People's Republic of China to the markets to sign a contract, the first contract signed with PICC, an insurer in China, and Swiss Re in 1973. The initiatives pioneered by our Hong Kong office was part of our global strategy to support emerging markets with know-how and reinsurance coverage. Since 1960s, we also provided a lot of training through our training centers to a lot of insurance companies' board members in order to bring them up to speed with the latest knowledge in the sector. Today, through our network of offices in Asia, we serve more than 700 clients with 3,000 employees, which is around 22% of our workforce. We write around 20% of our global business in Asia. It's a huge source of growth. If you think about in the last decade, we wrote premiums for 5.1 billions, and in 2021, it went up to 8.2 billion, so a very important growth. But we believe there is much more to come from Asia. 6 Asian markets are already today in the top 20 in terms of insurance market, representing 23% of the world premiums paid in the industry. China is already today the second largest insurance market, and we expect this to become number 1 by the mid-30s. India is also growing very fast, and we expect India to be number 6 by the same time, mid-60s. So it's an impressive opportunity to grow. But in addition to economic growth, that is the driver of this expansion, we see significant growth coming from a very fundamental aspect of insurance is helping the fact that in Asia we still have a huge room for improving protection, insurance penetration, and particularly the protection gap. So we, at Swiss Re Institute, we estimate that mortality protection, for example, is in Asia. So is the difference between the written premium and the coverage individuals would need to maintain living standards should a family breadwinner die, at $83 trillion $83 trillion in 2019. So a huge coverage gap in that sense compared to Western world. Furthermore, we estimate that 1.8 trillion of health protection gap was there in the region in 2018. As you know, Asia is a massively populated area with the densest urban areas in the world, and is very much exposed to natural catastrophes risks. The estimated total catastrophe losses in Asia in 2021 were $63 billion, of which only 12 billions were covered in terms of insurance risks. So you can see also there a huge gap. Floods are a particular regional threat, as you saw recently in Pakistan, very devastating floods. There were more than 20 severe floods in Asia in 2021, the highest number in any region in the world. And if you think about there, in terms of protection gap and coverage, only 7% of the flood losses in the region were covered, compared to 34% in Europe. In addition to climate change, climate change will further stress the danger posed by natural catastrophes, and as well as threatening much of the economic activity across the region. If you look at the estimated potential opportunity costs for GDP, for the GDP of Asian countries, we think that it will be around 26% by 2050, compared to a world without climate change. So there is an opportunity cost of growth of 26% if there is no action taken on climate. And if we achieve the standards set by the Paris agreements, we could reduce that gap from 26% to 5.5%. Still an opportunity cost, but somehow less contained. So by our task there is to develop models and database tools to measure climate risk, be more granular in the way we can assist our clients with not only with insurance coverage, but also with know-how on how to adapt and manage those challenges. This may be also by formulating, of course, underwriting solutions, analyzing damages, patterns, and also, very important, to signal and put in place conditions that force, de facto, stakeholders to change behaviors over the time. So you can see why we are still very positive on the outcome and the prospects for Asia, and we continue to see tremendous growth opportunities while staying close to our desire and our vision to help the world becoming more resilient. It is a great pleasure for us to host this meeting today. I wish you a fruitful set of sessions here, and I hope you will enjoy the Swiss Re Center for Global Dialogue. Thank you.